2008 financial crisis. Along with the massive fall of Dow Jones, S&P 500, and NASDAQ, Spain's economy also suffered significantly during the Great Recession. The result? Something no one ever expected. Housing prices in Spain dropped by 37% over the next 6 years. Previously, Spain had a history of rising housing prices. Between 1985 and 1991, the prices nearly tripled. Then, after a stable period of 5 years, it surged again from 1996 to 2008, reaching record highs. After the 2008 crash, many believed that when the economy recovered, housing in Spain would become more affordable, making it an appealing place to live. But the reality was different. Since 2014, housing prices have surged by 50%, aiming for their previous peak. Unemployment took over the nation, leaving even highly educated individuals homeless. Moreover, the country became the victim of its own success, tourism. But how and why did they end up here? This is the dark side of Spain. Spain is often considered a sunny paradise with a relaxed lifestyle because of its Mediterranean way of life, delicious food, and traditional siestas, which makes it an attractive place to call home. But living in Spain isn't the same as just visiting, and that's a big reason why many people choose to move back home. Because the first thing you'll do when living here is buy a home or rent one. And if you want to buy a property in Barcelona or Valencia, a one-bedroom apartment costs around $170,000 on average. For a new two-bedroom apartment in Barcelona, prices start at $250,000. Now, compare this to the median household income in Spain, which is roughly $38,000, and it becomes clear why owning a home in Spain has become a distant dream. By May this year, property prices had increased by 7.8% more compared to last year, reaching the highest levels ever. Madrid has already set a record of $4,875 per square meter, while San Sebastian remains the most expensive city at $6,057 per square meter. Foreign buyers, especially wealthy Latin Americans, are driving prices up in Madrid's high-end market. The situation is similar for renting as well. Spain's rental market has only seen price hikes by more than 50% since 2014. Now, in cities like Madrid, San Sebastian, and Barcelona, rents are as high as over $15 per square meter. A one-bedroom apartment in Madrid city center costs between $872 and $1,417, while a three-bedroom flat on the outskirts or a one-bedroom elsewhere rents for $708 to $1,090. Now, if you compare this scenario to what we are going to tell you next, you will get a clear picture of how big the problem is. Suppose you are a young man or woman in Spain and you want to buy a new home. Then you must earn at least $2,109 a month or more. Otherwise, you will be spending more than 30% of your salary on mortgage payments. But in reality, how much do young people currently earn on average in Spain? Only $1,048, which is just half of what they need. With these current salaries, young people would have to spend 60% of their income on a mortgage, making it very hard for them to cover other expenses. This amount is much higher than what banks usually consider affordable, making it nearly impossible to get a mortgage. Then comes the down payment, which is usually 20% of the home's price. So, they would need over 4 times the average yearly salary to afford a home. Saving this amount is also very difficult without significant help from parents or other resources. As home ownership is out of reach for most, many are now opting to rent. But to live alone, they would need to spend 90.7% of their salary on rent. In places like Catalonia and Madrid, this figure exceeds 100%, making renting alone impossible. Instead, many choose to rent a home in a shared house, which costs about $315 on average, or about 30% of their salary. This leaves some money for other expenses, but still makes it hard to save for a home down payment. Naturally, after seeing these figures, you might put all the blame on low-paying jobs. And this is a fact that Spain suffers from a huge job scarcity. Particularly, opportunities of getting a decent or high-paying job are significantly low, and that too is extremely competitive. From the outside, Spain seems to have a thriving tourism industry and a strong export sector. However, this positive outlook hides the bigger issue: a subpar labor market that doesn't provide good jobs for its workers. Believe it or not, in April 2024, 13.1 million EU citizens were unemployed, with an unemployment rate of 6%, while Spain had the highest rate at 11.7%, almost double the EU average. To understand why Spain is struggling, we need to look at the 2008 financial crisis again, which exposed the loopholes in the infrastructure of the labor market. As a result, unemployment plagued the country. The construction sector used to be one of the major employers in Spain, but it was shaken so hard that it led to higher unemployment and a growing national deficit. To handle this, the government introduced austerity measures, which helped stabilize the economy for some time, but they also made job losses and stagnation worse. The Spanish labor market has a dual system. Permanent contracts offer job security, while temporary contracts are less stable. According to Eurostat, Spain has the highest percentage of temporary workers among OECD countries. In 2023, over 25% of employed Spaniards were on temporary contracts, compared to the European average of 14%. Naturally, temporary contracts never encourage productivity growth. Rather, it worsens unemployment. So, Spain's high unemployment rate comes from low productivity, even though people work long hours. Furthermore, as the productivity is low, it leads to fewer benefits and less investment in training. That explains why people don't find stable, high-paying jobs in Spain. But that's just one side of the coin, while there's another side we haven't talked about yet. Spain's education system doesn't always match up with what the job market needs. Because the education system is more focused on theoretical learning rather than practical skills, which makes things worse, especially in technology and engineering fields. Many university graduates can't find jobs because none of those fit their degrees. That's why Spain has many overeducated workers with high degrees and PhD holders. But they are mostly unemployed because employers are hesitant to invest in training them. Regional differences also affect unemployment rates. If we see southern areas like Andalusia and Extremadura, they have higher unemployment because they depend heavily on seasonal industries like agriculture and tourism with less economic variety. On the contrary, cities like Madrid and Barcelona attract skilled workers and investment, which makes the economic gap between these cities and less developed regions even wider. Now, some of you might wonder, how about having innovative entrepreneurial ideas and go for a startup? Well, honestly, this country may not be the best place to start a business. The Spanish government often says they support new companies and innovations, but high taxes, expensive social security, lack of infrastructure, and few incentives make it tough for entrepreneurs to grow. In addition to that, Spain has a big informal economy, with activities like street vending and unreported construction work. This creates more unreliable job conditions with low pay. And now, to complete the picture, add the cutthroat competition in such a market. The competition extends beyond just job opportunities. It also includes buying or renting a home, where many people are not just natives. In the past 30 years, Spain has seen a major increase in immigration. The result? Over 15% of Spain's population is from abroad, mostly from its former Latin American colonies. This makes Spain the fourth most popular destination for immigrants in Europe, and the 10th in the world. Due to this, from 1900 to 2000, Spain's population roughly doubled. Between 2011 and 2021, it grew by just 0.12%, the smallest increase on record since 1833. This stagnation is mainly due to Spain's very low birth rate, which is linked to the country's minimal family support policies. Yes, it's hard to believe, but Spain spends the least on family support among Western European countries, only 0.5% of its GDP. For comparison, a Spanish family would need 57 children to get the same level of financial support that a family with 3 children receives in Belgium. These factors have led to the decline of Spain's rural areas, such as Teruel in the Serranía Celtibérica region. In rural Spain, you might enjoy scenic beauty, but face infrastructure issues like broken roads, poor internet, and isolation. If you visit Teruel now, you'll see it has only half the population it had a century ago, with many people leaving for better opportunities. Plus, 40% of Teruel's population doesn't have internet broadband, and the only train available is extremely slow, even compared to a tractor. In simple terms, lifestyle is extremely poor if you want to live in rural Spain. Now, if you come to developed cities like Madrid, those are struggling with overcrowdedness due to immigrants. The number of jobs or rental houses are significantly low compared to the number of applicants. Naturally, there's no scope for you to bargain. If you go for a job, the employers deliberately offer you low wages. If you go to rent a house, the owner demands a high rent. The situation is worsening further because of more immigrants who think Spain would give them a better life. Last year, Spain had 56,852 illegal migrants, an 82.1% increase from 2022, and the highest number since 2018. When the situation is so dire, add 2 more pieces to it to complete the puzzle: rising taxation and food prices. According to the Institute of Economic Studies' Tax Competitiveness Report 2023, Spain is ranked 31st out of 38 countries due to its high taxes. If you live in Spain for 183 days or more in a year, you are considered a tax resident. And as a tax resident, you need to pay personal income tax, which can be as high as 49%, on income earned both in Spain and abroad. Considering this, would you ever want to be a tax resident in Spain? Maybe not. However, non-residents also need to pay non-resident income tax, which is 24% of income earned in Spain. It means if you earn the median income, $30,000, you'd be left with only $22,800 after taxes. Then, you would have to consider daily fooding expenses to find out that last month, the cost of a shopping basket also went up by 4.2%. For your information, it's the smallest increase in the past 2.5 years. Basic food items are still expensive. Only milk prices fell by 2.9%, and vegetable prices dropped by 1.9%. Apart from them, over the past year, oils and fats got 39.7% more expensive. Fresh fruit prices rose by 14.4%, and lamb prices went up by 9.9%. Sugar, fresh fish, and coffee prices also increased by more than 4%. Now, if you investigate the reason behind this price hike, you'll discover something shocking. Spain's own success is subtly driving up the costs. Yes, Spain is most successful in the tourism sector, which supports 13% of the country's jobs. In March 2023, Spain welcomed over 6.5 million international visitors, a 30% increase from 2022. However, Barcelona faces major challenges due to tourism, despite it contributing 20% to the city's GDP. The city struggles with handling large numbers of tourists, which puts a strain on infrastructure, disrupts traffic, and affects local culture. It's not only about overcrowding and environmental damage, but tourism also causes 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Plus, platforms like Airbnb are driving up housing costs, making it harder for locals to find affordable homes in the cities. Local infrastructure is stretched thin, and local shops are being replaced by businesses catering to tourists. As a result, finally on July 6 this year, around 2,800 protesters in Barcelona demanded changes, chanting slogans like "Tourism kills the city" and "Barcelona is not for sale." They also shot water at the tourists, using water guns as a protest, and the protest is still ongoing. But do you think this protest will be fruitful for Spain? Would it help resisting over tourism and bring back socioeconomic balance there? Even if it does, how much time and what fail-proof measures should the government take to fight the housing problem and job scarcity? Honestly, the situation is so messed up right now that no instant remedy is gonna work. So, all we can do is hope that someday the situation will improve, and if not you, then the next generation will get to buy a new home there. Subscribe for more economics and finance analysis.